welcome to the show. We want to start by saying that we hope everybody's having a great summer or has had a great summer thus far, as the summer is quickly, some will say too quickly, coming to a close as we start to see back to school everywhere and as the weather begins to change in some places. Also, the Olympics have wrapped up, so we thought we'd do a follow up story. And we've got an interesting one here for you today. So let's dive right in. What does the winged victory of Samothrace represent? Headless angel at the Olympics, claim debunked. So, on August 11, watchers of the 2024 Paris Olympics observed a headless white statue being included during the Golden Voyager performance. Many took to the internet to claim that the figure represented something satanic or evil. Meanwhile, a community note by X, formerly Twitter, clarified that it represented the Greek goddess of victory, Nike, in reality. So, let's look at that name, Nike. The name Nike comes from the Greek goddess of victory, strength, and speed. In Greek mythology, Nike was a winged goddess who was worshipped by athletes seeking victory. She was also associated with giving victors wreaths of laurel leaves. Some say that Nike's wings can also represent the idea that victory is fleeting and can disappear as quickly as it comes. So, in the Olympics closing ceremony in the show, the Golden Voyager character appears in front of a white, faceless statue, which has now been confirmed to be that of the victory of Samothrace. However, netizens speculated that it represented something satanic initially. So, what exactly is that statue? The winged victory of Samothrace, or the Nike of Samothrace, is a votive monument originally found on the island of Samothrace, north of the Aegean Sea. It is a masterpiece of Greek sculpture from the Hellenistic era, dating from the beginning of the 2nd century BC. So, let's take a look at the origin of Nike's name. It might not be quite what you expect. How did Nike get its name? It's not what you expect. Founder Phil Knight didn't come up with the name. In fact, when he first heard the name Nike, he didn't like it. So, we're going to look at the origin of the name, as well as the names that came before. The very beginning, 1962. Young Phil Knight hasn't started Nike yet. He knows he wants to do something in the shoe business, but for now, he's traveling. He routes through Hong Kong, Manila, Bangkok, Vietnam, and India, noting the poverty throughout the region. He wanders through Egypt, Jerusalem, and Rome, admiring the remains of the past. Of all his travels, he considers Greece his highlight, in particular, the Temple of Athena, the goddess thought to bring victory, or Nike. While in stupor by the grandness of the place, he notices a carving of Athena bending down to adjust her shoe. Before Nike, there was Blue Ribbon. At a meeting with Japanese shoe executives, the Onitsuka staff ask him what company he's with. He has no company and no name, but he thinks back to his childhood wall, decorated with blue ribbons from track. Blue Ribbon Sports of Portland, Oregon, he says. He launches into his presentation of his paper from Stanford Business School, describing the size of the market and the vast opportunity there would be for a Japanese shoe manufacturer to enter America. They could undercut Adidas, the dominant brand at the time. Interesting to know that the Japanese created what we now call sneakers today, or trainers, as they would say in the UK. Nike is named 1971. Fast forward 9 years, Blue Ribbon's relationship with Onitsuka has soured considerably. Phil Knight knows he needs to start his own shoe manufacturing. They need to come up with a name. Phil proposes Dimension 6, which everyone hates. Others propose animal names like Bengal or Falcon. Salesman Jeff Johnson has a flash of inspiration and proposes Nike. It has good properties. Iconic brands are usually short and often have a strong sound, like Clorox or Kleenex. And Nike is the goddess of victory, so they move forward with their new name and logo. Something interesting to note. To Phil Knight's credit, he's honest in his book about not being the originator of these ideas, nor falling in love with them at first sight. It's common for business titans to present themselves as unconquerable geniuses in growing their company, which is why his book is refreshing. The rest is history. Nike rises to become the top athletics goods company worldwide. So, this is very interesting. Let's dive a little deeper, shall we? How Nike got its name. Nike is among the most popular and respected brands in the sports industry, as well as one of the most valued business brands in the world, ranking ahead of Intel and Mercedes-Benz. How did this happen, and where did it all start? Have you ever wondered how Nike got its name? So we think, following the Olympics in this episode, with all things athletics, let's dive in and take a closer look in the name of athletics. What if we told you it didn't start in the USA, but in Greece more than 3,000 years ago? The iconic tick or check mark is synonymous with the Nike brand. And like all good brand logos, we don't even need to see the name on the product to know it is Nike. It is incredible to think that the iconic swoosh cost the owners of the company only $35, and the name was only decided 5 hours before the first shipment of shoes left the warehouse. Nike's beginnings. Founded by Phil Knight and Bill Bowerman in 1964, Nike started life as Blue Ribbon Sports. Initially, Blue Ribbon Sports were just distributors of running shoes made by a Japanese company, Onitsuka Tiger, now known as ASICS. So there's something to note there. There's one thing to design a shoe after having an idea. It's a whole different animal to actually manufacture it, and then comes distribution. Also interesting to know that if you look at ASICS today, they have one of the line of sneakers called the Onitsuka Tiger. It's interesting to note the logo on that is the ASICS logo today. So Onitsuka Tiger, the Japanese company, now becomes ASICS as we know it today. A few years later, they decided to go it alone and asked a graphic design student, Caroline Davidson, to design a logo. She was paid $2 an hour to work on the design. The chosen design was the now iconic swoosh. By July 1971, Nike's founders were ready to market their own brand of sports shoes, but they needed a name. Most of the suggestions echoed Puma and Fast Animals, Peregrine, Bengal, and the likes. Jeff Johnson, one of the company's first employees in Massachusetts, had read an article about Xerox and Kleenex, suggesting a successful brand should be a short word with a maximum of 2 syllables and an exotic letter. Just 5 hours before the shipment was due to go out, Johnson awoke with the name Nike. "What's a Nike?" asked the president of the company. "The Greek goddess of victory," replied Johnson. No one was particularly taken with the name, but time was of the essence. Over the years, Nike has grown enormously to become sportswear's most sought-after brand, not to mention one of the largest grossing companies. According to a Forbes report from 2020, Nike generates $39 billion in revenue annually. The name of Nike, however, spans over 3,000 years from Greece to Rome to an American sportswear brand. In ancient Greece, Nike was the goddess of strength, speed, and victory, and so is the perfect representative for a sportswear brand. Nike, the Greek goddess. According to Greek mythology, Nike was the daughter of the Titan Pallas and the goddess Styx. Other stories say she was the daughter of Mars, the god of war, who fathered Romulus and Remus, the legendary founders of Rome. During the clash of the Titans, Nike was the charioteer of the gods and is often depicted with other divinities such as Zeus and Athena, or with victorious heroes whose horses she guides. In ancient Greece, she was depicted with famous athletes, symbolizing their victories in competitions. At the athletic games held in Olympia over 2,500 years ago, she awarded a laurel wreath to the winners. Today, bronze, silver, and gold medals of the modern Olympic Games bear her image. Sculptures of Nike were erected in public places as well as temples, celebrating not just speed and strength in competition, but victory in war as well. Nike flew around the battlefield, rewarding the victors with glory and fame, symbolized by the same wreath of laurel leaves, also known as bay leaves. But there's another important meaning attached to Nike's wings. As we mentioned earlier, victory is fleeting, and just as it can fall quickly at your feet, so too can it disappear in an instant. The Romans adopted gods and goddesses from Greek culture. In Greece, Nike was a winged figure depicted next to a hero, Zeus or Athena. But in Rome, Nike became a goddess in her own right, Victoria. Nike becomes Victoria. The concept of victory in battle was hugely important to the Romans as a militaristic society. Strength, military might, and conquest were central to Roman values, so Victoria became an important goddess. She was associated with the Senate, who had the ultimate decision on going to war, and many statues and temples were erected in her name. Closely associated with military victory, she appears on triumphal arches erected for Victoria's generals as decoration, but statues of her in a chariot also topped the arches. In Rome, Nike was even depicted attending the triumphal parade. When an emperor returned from conquest, a huge parade would welcome him into the city. A slave dressed as Victoria, with wings on her back, rode behind the emperor in the quadriga, a 4-horse chariot associated with victory, showing the people that victory was on Rome's side. As the glory of Rome passed and the empire fell, the goddess of victory faded away. Yet she was not forgotten. She morphed and re-emerged under Christianity as an angel, still doing the bidding of God. As you wander around Rome today, you will find the goddess everywhere. Piazza Venezia Vittoriano, altar of the fatherland, monument is one place she appears. It celebrates the unification of Italy in 1871, when the Republic of Italy brought down centuries of papal rule. The building is topped by 2 bronze statues of Victoria in her 4-horse chariot. The ancient goddess of victory rides again, reviewed anew atop one of the most modern monuments in an ancient city. Directly in front of the Vittoriano is one of the major shopping streets in Rome, Via del Corso. At number 476, you will find one of the 7 Nike stores to be found in the city. As you walk around the capital, you will undoubtedly notice the Roman obsession with having the latest pair of trainers or sneakers. Lastly, it's also interesting to know, fast forward many years, the Wings logo from 1984 for Air Jordans. The first ever logo that was designed for the line of shoes was a winged basketball. It had an image of a basketball in the middle of a pair of pilot wings or an airline badge. The logo was designed to create the illusion of a winged basketball, as Michael Jordan was depicted to fly through the air. That's it for this episode. We hope you enjoyed this Olympics wrap-up and deep dive into the history of Nike. Please go ahead and like so we can bring you some more of this content. Subscribe to the channel. Head over to buymeacoffee.com/Samson King and put in a small donation. We'd really appreciate it. It helps a lot. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you next time.